This is Michael Reeder, CPA and owner of Reeder CPA Group. Welcome to Reeder's Playbook, where I talk with industry experts about practical strategies and insights that help business owners and entrepreneurs level up. Today, I'm talking with Alex Smereczniak, co-founder and CEO of Franzy. Alex is a seasoned entrepreneur with a track record of building and scaling franchise-focused businesses. With Franzy, he's taking franchise discovery to the next level, leveraging technology to make it easier for aspiring business owners to find the right franchise fit. Alex Smereczniak, welcome to the Playbook. Great to have you here.
Thanks for having me, Mike.
Yeah, you bet, man. So let's just get into it, right? So, you and I are both entrepreneurs. So I'd love to start by hearing your story. Can you take us through your entrepreneurial journey? How you got started and what shaped your approach to business ownership, versus falling in line with the traditional 9 to 5?
Absolutely. So I think I've been asked this before, like what inspired you to get into entrepreneurship? And I think early on for me, my dad wasn't necessarily a kind of stereotypical entrepreneur, but he was a financial advisor, and so he got to 100% commission. Would golf a ton in the summer, but would work his ass off in the winter when in Minnesota you can't golf anymore. And so getting to see him have that.
This was before indoor golfs, right?
Yeah, exactly. And there wasn't Top Golf or simulators or any of that. Um, and so seeing him have that flexibility and freedom to kind of work whenever he wanted to, but and also still be successful, financially, et cetera, I think inspired me to, hey, there's another way from doing this than the 9 to 5. And he always explained to me, you can either work for someone else, you can work for yourself, or you can have people working for you. And he's like, as you go along that path, the things get better and better and more interesting. You've got more, more freedom and more flexibility. And so I think that's what initially inspired me. And then in college, I did a laundry and dry cleaning pickup and delivery business called Wake Wash. I went to Wake Forest, and I learned more doing other people's dirty laundry than I did from any class I took at Wake Forest. Not because the professors were bad or anything, but because getting your hands on a business and building something and problem solving real time, there just isn't anything that can replicate what you learn and how fast you learn through trial and error, through failure, through having to think creatively. And so got into entrepreneurship in college, sold that business when I graduated. And then I tried the big boy job, the 9 to 5, for not even a year and a half at Ernst & Young. So I wasn't on the tax or the audit or the accounting side. I did financial services consulting. And I thought it would be entrepreneurial in the sense that like you're jumping from client to client and city to city and team to team. And I did love that aspect, but the work I was doing wasn't as fulfilling or as exciting to me as the fast break entrepreneurship, building something from nothing, arena. And so I saw all these Uber for X businesses pop up, Wag and Rover for dog walking, Shipt and Instacart for grocery delivery. And I thought someone's going to do this for laundry and dry cleaning. Why not me? And so I quit my job at EY, started a business called 2U Laundry in January of 2016. And then over 8 years, scaled the hell out of it, raised 33 million in venture capital, launched a few dozen cities, and learned a ton doing that over 8 years. Ended up vertically integrating part of that business. So we started building actual physical laundromats. At first, it was just a marketplace business with marketing and technology engine, but started building our own actual physical laundromats to do all the cleaning out of. And that was working really well. But the issue we ran into was these things cost 1.2, 1.3 million plus to build. How are we going to go build hundreds of these at scale without having to raise hundreds of millions of dollars, and this taking 20 years to do? And so what we did was we thought, well, why don't we franchise the brick and mortar business, layer the pickup and delivery business on top of it, and have kind of the best of both worlds working with us. So we started another brand called Laundrolab that we started franchising in 2021, and that's how I got into the world of franchising. Sold 116 units, have over 30 stores open today and growing. And that's what the idea for Franzy came, which is what we're building and what we're working on now. But it's essentially a marketplace for prospective franchisees to find and match with the right brands, leveraging AI to find the right lenders as well, and to have expert business coaches kind of guide them through that process. So think of it as the Zillow for franchising, where people can come and find the right fit brand for them and chase that entrepreneurial dream themselves.
Wow, amazing stuff there. Inspirational that got a lot of your entrepreneurial drive from your father, and then just everything about Laundry Lab and To You Laundry, and then you just like I had like my two immediate next questions, like you just answered with pretty much like why franchising, like how did you get into like the genesis story for Alex in the franchise world, and then pretty much like the inspiration behind Franzy, like like what is Franzy at a high level and stuff, and so you just answered those, so thank you. And so, like, what is it about the traditional franchise discovery process that didn't sit right with you, and how is Franzy improving it?
Yeah, so as a franchisor, and I explored a few franchise concepts myself, along the way, just because I think it's a great business model, and I've always been curious what else is out there and what else could I get into. If I can speak to both sides of the table, one is a franchisor, but one is also someone who's looked for franchise businesses to get into and to buy. And the thing that I think sums up both sides is just kind of like lack of access to good information. There's these Google rabbit holes you go down, different forums, but information is constantly being updated. Franchisors are constantly evolving. New ones are constantly coming in. Old ones are constantly, some of them are failing and falling out. Some stores are shutting down. Others have net unit growth. And so just finding a place where I could go do good research to see what are the risks, what are the opportunities, what can I afford. I just couldn't find anything. And there's elements of each of the things that you need out there, right? Like brokers can help you get educated on franchising as a whole and find the right brand, but they have a select inventory, right? They might only be working with a handful of brands at a time, but the brokers can help educate you. There's portals that give you the full directory, but not a lot more than that. There's a lot of kind of confusing rabbit holes you can go to there, maybe out of date information. And the Google search is there. And some, the thing I kept finding was lack of access. Um, Another thing was alignment that jumped out to me was how do I, as a franchisor, find the right candidates that are truly going to be good partners, not just because they're going to buy 5 licenses, but they're going to be good partners over 10 years, good operators, smart, adding value to the system. And I think when there's a third party, at times, sometimes the misalignment can go out of whack. And so what I mean by that is, one of the things that I had issue with on the broker side was, some of those networks might only be showing, a handful of brands, and there was a little bit of a pay to play element on the back end for brands who are paying broker networks to be represented. But there's no disclosure requirements or regulatory requirements right now that require a broker to disclose to a candidate that how much money they're making, how they make money, and that they are only potentially representing 30 or 40 brands. So me as a franchisee, I want to see the whole universe of brands. I want to see the couple thousand that are out there, not just the 50 that have paid a network to represent them. And so that was an issue that I had too, is just the misalignment, the kind of lack of transparency that existed in some parts of the franchise sales or discovery process. And then again, just the access to updated data and information. So those are kind of the 2 or 3 buckets that Franzy is aiming to solve. Is how do we make it fully transparent, democratize the process, make data more accessible, and then also be open about our fee structure and make it aligned with both the candidate and the brand.
Got it. Very interesting. Um, yeah, I mean, Franzy, and like you literally just, I mean, to everyone listening to this, like Alex and I are recording this in real time on, mid-February 2025. So, like how many weeks are you into officially, Franzy being open for business?
So we soft launched November 25th to get initial users on the platform, get initial feedback from early brands, early prospects, and didn't really spend much on marketing. Used that to work out the kinks and the bugs and things that were not up to our standard on the platform. And then fully launched January 27th, it was.
So like three,
So
we're like in real time, everyone, as you're listening to this, like Alex is 3 weeks into it.
so we're 3 weeks in, and people want it. We've kind of broken the platform in a good way. We've got 3,000 brands on the platform, hundreds that have signed agreements with us to be verified. So we have unverified and then verified brands, kind of like Twitter, checkmark, or Instagram checkmark. We have the brands, FTDs, and data for over 3,000 brands. So you can search any number of brands that you want to. The few hundred that we have signed on are brands that you can immediately connect with and interact with, and you have an overview call scheduled within a day or two if you wanted to. But as soon as you want to talk to an unverified brand, we have a team that's going out to them and saying, hey, we've got 6 great leads. They want to talk to you. Get your brand verified. Here's how you do it. And boom, we get them in a week or two. Um, and so the brand growth has been phenomenal. And then we've had, I don't know, 15,000 monthly unique visitors coming within the first 3 weeks, many of which have qualified themselves, or interacting with our lenders, or interacting with brands, or starting to do the discovery. They're using our Franzy Fit Score as an element of what we built. That's the AI-powered matching algorithm that we built to connect you with the best fit brand for yourself based on affordability, risk tolerance, goals and interests, and then what's available. And so once we get that information, we use AI to curate a top 10 list for you. And then you have a coach accessible to you as well that helps you go through that 10. What do you like? What do you not like? Feed that data and that feedback into our algorithm and constantly just refine and get a better list, so that at the end of it, you're looking at the 2 or 3 brands that are absolutely the best fit for you from those 4 kind of buckets that I mentioned. Which again were affordability, risk tolerance, your goals and interests, and then your operational experience.
Man, I love it. Definitely, definitely disrupting the status quo. Man, really impressive. Franzy also offers tools to help with financing. Talk to me about that, because financing is one of the biggest things that I help candidates with. As they're going through the franchise buying process, the franchise investment process. In our prior conversations, and I told you about me, and for people that know me out there, I'm all about, as a CPA, working with franchisee businesses, meeting them when they're going through that buying journey, and advising them on entity structure strategy, funding strategy, aka financing strategy, tax strategy for small business ownership, et cetera, et cetera. So talk through just kind of like how Franzy offers tools to help with financing.
Yep. So one of the things as a franchisor that we found created a hurdle sometimes is you get introduced to a lot of great leads, whether it was organic or from a broker channel or um, podcast, etc. You still had to do kind of KYC, know your customer, and then make sure that they can afford what you're doing, and that you really have verified financials, background checks, etc. And we found that sometimes that was happening too late in the process. You're deep into multiple conversations at this point. They've spent a ton of time just to find out that, hey, they can't afford it, they're not going to get lending, or something else came up. So our thought with Franzy was, why don't we pull all of that forward and then share that information with all the brands you're looking at, so you don't have to do it 5 different times with 5 different brands. Why don't we pull the KYC? Let's get your financials verified. Let's get a lender to pre-approve what you can afford, and then you can just use that pre-approval letter and some of that background information with every brand that we introduce you to. And then you can still shop around the final loan that you do based on the concept you find, but based on your personal financial statement, your background, you can still, regardless of the concept, get a rough understanding of what you're going to be able to borrow and what your options are. So why not do that a little earlier in the process? Allows us to get more information and data on a candidate as well, so that by the time we introduce them to brands, they're even more of a qualified lead than another channel might provide. So that's one of the things we're doing today, is just introduction to lenders and getting them pre-qualified. In the future, and without sharing too much of the secret sauce, we want to do Plaid integrations where we can actually see individuals' accounts and validate and verify financials directly with just a quick integration through Plaid. Um, and then you and I have talked about it, but also want to be a resource for franchisees to help find the right CPA to work with, to help find the right legal resource, um, as they look at FDDs or negotiating various things. So a number of tools we've built out to support the franchisee in this journey.
Very informative stuff, Alex. Thank you. This is great. Beyond finding the right franchise, beyond finding the right franchise, for the prospective buyer, actually connecting with franchisors is a big step. How does Franzy help facilitate those conversations?
Yeah, so our main like four immediate value adds for prospective franchisees. One is the pre-qualification with a lender. So you go through a kind of light KYC financial verification and answering finance questions or financially related questions. And then we give you a pre-qual letter, a pre-qual amount, and then update the brands that you're being shown based on that number. So there's the pre-qual. You can also talk to a franchise coach. So those are internal resources to our team that have franchise experience that help you navigate all the questions you could have, whether you're a novice and you're just getting started out and you have no idea what an FDD is or what items of the FDD to look at. They can help you with that question, all the way up to, are you a private equity group that's looking for the next concept to deploy $15 million of capital into, and you're looking for very specific requirements? This individual can help you think through that, find operating partners for you, etc. So these coaches kind of run the gambit of novice questions to more expert M&A advice if you're looking at doing a combination of new stores and existing stores. So the coach is the second piece. The Franzy Fit Score is the third. That's the AI powered engine that helps you match with and curate a list. And then you can also do territory checks directly with brands. So for those that don't know what a territory check is, it's basically communicating with the brand about what areas have they not sold yet that still open for development. Is it one location in a specific city, or could I develop a whole city or a whole state or a whole geography even? So we help with the territory checks as well. And so those are kind of our four main tools for prospects to use outside of the table stakes stuff of all the data. You want to see revenue numbers, revenue comparisons, investment amounts, all that table stakes information that's just provided in there for free, whether you sign up or not.
Got it. And maybe I missed one. So there's pre-qual, there's franchise coaches, there's territory checks. What's the fourth one?
It's the Franzy Fit Score. So that's that AI matchmaking tool.
Got it. And the franchise coaches, are they are they like W-2 employees? Are they franchise consultants that engage with Franzy? Like, how does that work?
Yep. So they're W-2 employees, and I'll even share compensation because we share this with every prospect as well. They have a base salary, they get benefits, but they also then get a flat rate success fee based on the number of licenses sold. But this doesn't vary across brands. And the reason I'm emphasizing that is there is no incentive for a coach to push you to one brand over another because they make the same commission regardless of brand. And so they're truly trying to find what's the best fit for Mike, because the best fit for Mike is going to be the one that resonates with him most and he's most likely to buy because it's the best fit. It's the thing that, if he's going to do this, will resonate with him. And if he's not going to do it, he's not going to do it, especially not going to do a brand that doesn't make sense to him. And so that's the, kind of incentive structure for our coaches is flat rate regardless of the brand. If they have an $80,000 franchise fee or a $10,000 franchise fee, our coaches are getting paid the same amount.
Got it. And is Franzy getting paid? Like who are your paying customers? The franchisors primarily. Any vendors like the yeah.
Yep. So the franchisors is where we make our money, similar to a broker relationship with a brand. But again, we charge a more of a flat rate fee and a lesser fee than what I think it's some other channels out there charge. So we're trying to be more affordable to the brand because our belief, again, as a franchisor, is that the more money that goes into the brand, the more the brand is going to invest in their franchisees in the form of training, technology, marketing programs, etc. And so as a platform, our goal is to get to a scale and a size where we can continue to reduce that cost to the brand so that it ultimately benefits both the brand and the franchisee ultimately. I think historically, I think there's a number of brands that have sold more units than they should have ethically done, but everyone was making money off of franchise fees and no one wanted to slow it down. And our hope is that with this, we put a spotlight on some of those red flags and, really make sure that brands are growing responsibly and ethically, but also brands that maybe haven't made it because they decided not to engage with channels that would supercharge growth. We can help find good leads for them at a fraction of the cost so that they can continue to grow and grow, at the rate that they want to grow at.
Got it. Yeah. And so I remember I forwarded something to you the other day because it had like Franzy like similar colors and it was like North Carolina. So I was like, and then like and it was like I knew that Franzy just like recently launched, and so I forwarded it to you. But whatever that one, I already forgot what that one was. But then also like when it comes to platforms like Franchise Gator and Biz Buy Sell, were part of their revenue stream, if not like a good chunk of their revenue stream, is like they sell leads to like franchise consultants. It sounds like that's nothing. Like, is that part of the Franzy model at all? Like, Franzy model is selling leads to like third party, like independent franchise consultants. Is that any part of Franzy or not at all?
So we talked about it, and there's some, brokers that are really good friends of mine and, are great people. And so there is a world where we might send some of our kind of overflow leads to, existing consultants, who do a really good job, who are more patient, who aren't really just trying to rush a sale necessarily. But the initial thought is that we will keep it in-house. And part of this is just from horror stories that I've had as a franchisor, and not franchise specific, but certain parts of your business are your competitive advantage, right? And if for Laundry Lab, it was the quality of the clothes that we were cleaning, right? We can't outsource that piece because that's ultimately what people are paying us to do. And I feel the same way about our, our franchise coaches. That's arguably one of the most valuable parts of what we've built, is that, that person that can guide you through this otherwise somewhat scary process and daunting process. And so our thought is, why outsource one of our key differentiators when you can keep it in house and you can have everyone trained the same way, having access to the same tools, the same data, um, and being paid and compensated the same way. Because if one of our leads goes to an internal coach and one goes to an external, broker, if the comp is different or things are set up differently, you might have different experiences and different interactions. And so our thought is, let's try to keep as much of that in house so that we can control quality as much as possible.
Yeah, that's interesting. Like, I wonder if for the overflow to go to like your vetted network of franchise, independent third party. Like, maybe there's a world, and I'm just spitballing here. It's like they're they're doing their thing as a self-employed franchise consultant. They're collecting 1099 income, from the franchisors doing their thing, and then if they want to, take overage from Franzy, then they can, right? But then like Franzy will pay them as a W-2, just the individual, and it's like so they can just be a Franzy W-2 like on the side, then that way they're Franzy's not 1099ing them, and it's like different than like Franzy's regular employee model.
Yep. I like that idea a lot. It's actually something that we've started to think about a little bit more. Is like, hey, maybe you wouldn't make as much per deal as you would doing it on your own, but you have access to all these qualified leads. Maybe benefits is part of it that that comes with it. Um, and so there maybe is enough of a differentiator for a consultant to want to do that. To your point, part time. We would just have to build kind of guardrails in place and things to allow those consultants to operate that way. But I like that idea a lot, because if things keep going at the rate that they've been going, we need some
Yeah,
sort of
is that your phone ringing
overflow
right now?
capacity.
Your phone is ringing right now.
Pretty much. It's
Answer it
always going.
live. Yeah, no, I know. Like, everyone can see like the real life, real time, like Alex just like building a multi-million-dollar company, which he's done before. I love it, man. And I mean, it's just like, I mean, I'm not a franchise consultant, but I know a lot of franchise consultants, and I know how it goes in that industry. There are, you have like just what's normal, the same goes for like realtors and like loan officer, like like loan officers are obviously paid as W-2, but like whatever it is in sales, like you always have like there's like the top 2% that are just like crushing it, but then like there are a lot of others that like they're making money, but like there's peaks and valleys. Like they might make 100,000 in 1 month, and then they might go dry for 2 months. Like when you're a friend, it's a long process to like educate someone on like different brands, and then to like connect them with the brands, and then like they go to discovery day and do due diligence, and it's mutual due diligence, right? Like the brand has to do their due diligence on the perspective Z as well, so it's a two-way street. And so to me it's like again, like I am not a franchise consultant at all, but I see the value there because it's like going bowling, right? Like you try to get a strike, but like I know a lot of consultants out there would love to get a spare, right? In this context, the spare would be, the W-2 income from Franzy that they get, because that can help out during some dry months, for example. So that's interesting, man. And you might have already mentioned this, so my apologize. So my apologies, but I mean, a big part of a franchise success is making informed decisions up front, right? Like of a prospective franchisees, success is making informed decisions up front. So like, how does Franzy ensure candidates get transparent, data-driven insights before committing to a franchise?
Yeah, so part of it is the database that we've built. We have over 3,000 brands worth of FTDs from 2018 until now. And the reason I'm sharing, we have all these old FTDs, is because we can show trend as well, which is something that a prospective franchisee would have to do manually. They're having to pull out of a spreadsheet. They're having to pour through six FTDs, and as we all know, they're pretty intimidating, arduous, documents are 200 pages long. Things change and vary. And so what we've done is we've extracted all of the item 19 information, item 7 information into these cleaner Zillow-like profiles. So think of what Zillow did to MLS. MLS existed forever. People could access it. You could have a realtor friend, to try to access it through, but it was clunky and hard to get and kind of, again, intimidating. But then as soon as Zillow came out, boom, you can see all these houses and images and data on square footage and bathrooms, school district, caliber. Our goal is to do the same thing. It's like, boom, it's on a silver platter. All these brands' data is here. You can see how they've been trending over years. Are they having net unit growth? Are they having net unit decline? Is there litigation that's come and gone and isn't displayed anymore? What other red flags are there? We're also pulling in like consumer sentiment on the brand. So we just have tens of millions of Google and Yelp reviews that we have. We don't have it displayed on our site yet, but the goal with that data is to say, hey, Mike, if you're looking at a Jimmy John's, does Jimmy John's have a good reputation amongst average consumers, or is it on the decline? And maybe you should look at the new hot up and coming sandwich shop that people are really excited about, because this is a 10-year commitment. You don't want to get into the brand that is on the decline and has a poor reputation in the market. And so we're starting to put light onto those types of things as well in the process. So to answer your question, there's a lot of ways we're showing data. It's financial data, it's location data, it's trend data, it's litigation data. And again, just calling those things out so that you as a prospective buyer are well informed to answer, to ask questions of that brand once you get to that point in the process.
Great stuff. Thank you. So, Alex, with thousands of franchise opportunities in your system, you have a unique view of what's happening in the industry. Are there any trends in the types of franchises people are gravitating towards right now? Here we are, Q1 2025.
Yeah, so there's a big gravitation towards home services. And I think the reason being is that there's a lot of really, some of them innovative because there's technology and hardware coming out, but there's a lot of home services brands that are starting consolidation. But there's also a realization that, hey, I can still generate pretty strong top line revenues, in the seven figures, if I get enough territory and I build a good enough brand in the local market. But the overhead's drastically different than a McDonald's or a retail concept. And so I think there's a lot of home services interest because it's less overhead, but can still generate a lot of revenue. And then I think there's also a lot of traction in, unique, I don't want to say mixed use, but unique entertainment businesses. And so, like businesses like Sky Zone or some of the indoor golf simulator businesses, um, where they're doing creative things with space and retail that's available now because a lot of these retail locations have, it's gone online. There's a lot of e-commerce. And so with these locations, there's mini golf concepts or trampoline parks or go-karting things or golf simulating things that technology isn't going to necessarily fully disrupt or at least bring it fully online. And so I think that kind of mixed use entertainment, those concepts are doing well, home services. And then the last one I'd say is, some health and wellness and like early childhood development, whether that's something like Kids Strong, where they're helping, youth gain confidence and, connectedness through sports that might not be accessible before the age of, 6 or 7. Um, and so category or concepts in those categories, we're seeing doing really well also.
There's a lot of stuff that I can rabbit hole into like all three of those things, and I'll like intentionally hold myself back. But like what I like, as I was listening to you, and I mean I agree with home services. I mean, first of all, I mean, I see it too, right? I mean, I'm working with a lot of, franchise buying candidates. I come in as the CPA and I'm like, okay, so what's your investment level? What's your household? What are your assets? What's your income? What brand, and like the investment is like, what brand are you doing and stuff? And like tons of home service businesses, obviously, they're cool because they're low, they're not, you can work from home for a lot of them, you can some like optional storage space if you want, maybe have a small commercial office if you want, but it's not necessary. But what it got, what I just was thinking of as you were talking was um, just like only in America. And what I mean by that is this, right? And this is like it's an overstatement and some oversimplification. But for example, like as like when we first connected, I was in Europe, right? I was hanging out with my in-laws. I was in like Europe for like 6 months in 2024, just hanging out. And so my wife is Bulgarian, okay? And in Bulgaria, I am not a real man for two reasons, right? Because one, I can't drive a stick shift, and everyone drives a stick shift over there. And number two, I didn't build my own house with my own hands. Like every Bulgarian man had like built his own house or like helped his parents or grandparents like build the house, and they know how to drive stick shift. And I say that because like in America, like we have a home service franchise that we like there will like the franchise is like they will come and they will like clean your barbecue grill because we can't even freaking clean our grill. And I hate to say it, but I am one of those, like, I mean, I'm not a paying customer of that brand. Like those are great, but it's a great concept because like my wife and I, like we use an air fryer, which we love. But like one of the reasons why we don't use like a regular grill as much as we would, because I don't want to freaking clean
There's
it.
a franchise for everything. Someone will come and pick up your dog's poop for you if you
Yep.
want.
Yeah. Shout out to Duty Calls is one of them. I think Pet Butler is another one. And yeah, that like yeah, there that's yeah, like I remember like there are times like where we live in Maine now, it's kind of like we're like it's like single family houses, but it's like with like little yards, but there's no fence. It's kind of like a condominium association of single family houses, and so but like in my house in Chicago, I would just like let my dog out, and he would like do his thing in the backyard, and like I hate to say it, but like it's a few days would go by, and I would come in like batch clean them. You know what I'm saying? It's like okay, yeah, now I know why Duty Calls exists, and it makes sense, and so only in America, man. I love it. So I mean, and then, like I guess I can go on and on. There's like some like I can rabbit hole into like indoor golf and entertainment and stuff. But so I mean, what's next for Franzy, man? I mean, like any new tools or features you're working on to make franchise discovery like even better?
Yeah, so already there's been, and we had a roadmap for this, but already customers have been validating this, and it's, well, I'm kind of torn. I want to find the right brand, but now I need to make the decision of do I want to build from scratch, or is there something out there that I can just buy that's already up and running, and the owner's ready to sell. And so resales is a part that will add to the platform eventually, where you do have an option for both. Maybe you're an investor that's more sophisticated and you want to just get going on day one and start rolling up, a certain brand. We've had, a number of existing franchisees say like, I want to sell, but there's not a great place for me to do it. Biz buy sell, it's a little bit of a, cesspool, and there's not a, we're not validating financials there. And sometimes the buyers aren't serious. We're not, validating the buyers. And then there's the other option of, well, I can go to corporate and I go to the franchisor and have them email the other franchisees. But that's not really a competitive sale process, even though that's the likely buyer. I might not get the highest multiple I could if it was truly open to, going to the best buyer. And so resale is a big portion of what we want to do. But for the time being, our goal is just getting really, really good at the matchmaking piece. Is how do we truly pair you with the concept that not only you can afford, but that you're going to be happy with for the next 10 years. Um, and really make sure it's the right fit with the team. And so part of what our matchmaking function does is we're also asking you your leadership style and what are some of your core values as a person and your beliefs. And we're asking the brand to do the same thing. They have what's called the perfect prospect score. And so they're indicating to us, what are you looking for, a sales oriented leader or someone that's more operationally experienced, that maybe has an ex-military background or a deep operations background, because you might need different things and different again, point of views and point of and beliefs. And so, right now that's the main focus, is just really refining and constantly perfecting how we pair you and match you with the right brand.
I love it, man. So finally, for anyone listening who's interested in franchising but feels overwhelmed, what's the best piece of advice you'd give to help them take their first step?
Yep, come to franzy.com and
Mic drop.
create an
Yeah.
seriously, I mean, that's why we've built it, is to help you with that fear, help you with the resources to see what you can afford, make sure you're getting with brands that have a good reputation and are going to be the right fit ethically and also with your goals. And if you got all those quote unquote dumb questions, we've got tools for that too. We haven't released it yet, but we're working on a chat bot that scrapes all this franchise data that you can talk to if you don't want to talk to a human, that you can ask, what is an FTD? And how should I think about an item 19 versus an item 7? And what do I think about what is adjusted EBITDA? What does that mean? You can ask all those questions that are popping up on a brand's profile page. Or if you want to get on the phone and talk to a coach who's in your corner and has your back, you can do that too. And so, like you said, Mike drop. The answer is come to Franzy, because we got, we'll meet you where you are on your journey, and we'll get your questions answered, and the help that you're looking for is available.
Yeah, man, I mean, there's just like such a craving of, not wanting to work that, that W-2 grind, right? Whether it's corporate or not-for-profit or government, like just that W-2 grind, right? A W-2 employee of a company or organization that's not your own, business. There's such a craving, right? And so, I mean, I talk to people every day. I'm sure you do as well. People in their 50s, even like that, like, like have worked 20, 30 years plus. And like, and so, I mean, I'm 38 years old. How old are you?
33.
Wow. Making me look old, man. Thanks. And so, and you, and so, I mean, that's just even more impressive, man. Like all the power to you. But I mean, there's such a craving. There's such a, like obviously there, there's tax benefits for being self-employed, owning your own company, the income, potential is much greater. We all love to make money, and being your own boss is the way to go do it. But it's also a lifestyle. I mean, it's all. I mean, like I just said, I've spent like over the last like 5 years, I've spent like 40% or 37% of like the last 5 years like in Europe, because I can work from anywhere because I own my own company. Not saying that I guess technically if you can work remotely depending on who your employer is, but I mean, just the autonomy of schedule, lifestyle, income, tax savings, earning, like there's so many benefits of being your own boss. People need information. They're create, like that's the thing. Like people are, I feel like a lot of people are, first of all, there's always like, the people that, there's that part of the market that's still like when they hear franchising, they think of like, KFC and McDonald's and that's it. And then, so just like knowing that like all these other industries exist with, the franchise model exists in all these different industries, like that is interesting. A lot of people want to get educated on that. So now where do you go for that education? Right. And so, now when you and then people are people want to be their own boss. Now they learn, oh, there's a way that I can be my own boss other than starting my business from scratch, right? Business for sale marketplace, right? So like independent non-franchise resale or franchise resale or brand new franchise territory. Okay, so now it's like, oh, okay, like out of those three options, let's narrow it down to franchise, right? New franchise territory or franchise resale. Okay, why do I want to go franchise? Because I can invest in a proven business model, and that is a layer that is risk mitigation, right? So going to a place, like it just seems like everything that you're doing, like as you're talking, it's like you are providing a platform that just like, that there's always some sort of inherent risk in being self-employed, being a business owner, but you are really committed to mitigating that risk as much as possible. And that's really, you're really, striking a chord with me. Like, this is like a really important thing for me because, like I believe that a big part of that, what I do when I am meeting these prospective buyers, when they're in the process of buying and like making sure they have an optimal entity structure, an optimal funding strategy, coming at it from the angle of strategic tax, and then making sure that they're getting that proactive tax strategy, right out the gate while they're still going through the buying process, like risk mitigation. Like it's like, you and I'm sure have many things in common, but one of them that we have in common is, doing what we can do to reduce risk, for our clients or, for the people that want to buy businesses. And so, seriously, man, like thank you for doing what you're doing because you're definitely making the business for sale marketplace, right? Which franchising is like, a big section of. You're making the business for sale marketplace, a better place, and thank you for that.
No, thank you. And honestly, you got me fired up after hearing you say that. I mean, I think we all have that friend or group of friends that have told us and expressed, I've always wanted to start my own thing, but I don't know where. And so, Franzy is really, we're trying to build it for that person who wants to go do it because I'm sure you can agree with this. Doing what you're doing and what you've done has got to be one of the most impactful, fulfilling things you've ever done. And we all get one shot at this. And I think we're all, in probably one of the most fortunate countries for entrepreneurship in the world. And it's almost, I don't want to say, go as far as criminal not to take at least one at bat, but again, you're in the environment, one of the best places in the world to start a business, whether it's a brand new concept or a franchise to do it. And so, my goal with the platform is to give people a chance to take that swing, to go for it in a de-risked way. I mean, you mentioned it, entrepreneurship or franchising is less risky than going at it on your own. It's butcher some of these numbers, but I want to say it's like an 85% success rate after 5 years of running a franchise location versus 46% for going at it alone. And so you're almost, 2xing your chance of success by going through the franchise route. And so my goal with the experiences that I've had and how impactful entrepreneurship has been to me, how impactful franchising has been to me is to create access again and help go create the next million entrepreneurs.
Yeah, man. I love it. And every time I leave America, and I love Europe. Like I love Europe. I love like Europe has its pros, and but every time I go to Europe and experience that, go to Bulgaria. I think Bulgaria is one of the, if not the poorest country in the EU, and so it's like try to start a business in Bulgaria. It's like not so easy, and it's if there's any place to do it, it's here. And so for all, for your friends, for my friends, for our audience, that's our state. And I know Canada and Europe, have franchises as well and stuff like that. But I mean, I'm speaking about like the American, marketplace. There's no better place to do it on this planet. And so, it can be done much easier than any other place. So, once again, Alex, thank you. I really appreciate it. Thank you for being on the Playbook. So, ladies and gentlemen, the real Alex, I'm going to get this right? Alex Smereczniak. Oh, got it. Nailed it. One take. Alex Smereczniak, thank you, brother, for being on Reader's Playbook. Appreciate you.
Thanks for having me, Mike. I appreciate it.